All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into some really fascinating clinical research from Dr. Luis Campanella, and we're going to investigate two of the most common drugs on the planet, aspirin and clopidogrel. We're about to uncover a medical mystery that, believe it or not, millions of people are a part of, and most of them don't even know it. So let's start with a question that really gets right to the heart of it all. You've heard the term blood thinner 1,000 times, right? But what if that whole idea is just wrong? What if the pill you take every day works in a completely different way? Or what if for some people, it doesn't work at all?
To get this, you gotta picture what's happening inside our bodies, like right now. It's this constant microscopic battle, a blood war, if you will, where these tiny little cells are deciding whether to form clots that could save your life or, end it.
And that brings us to our first huge clue. The drugs we're talking about, they're not actually blood thinners. They don't make your blood all watery. They're what we call antiplatelets. Their one and only job is to stop these specific blood cells, called platelets, from getting all sticky and clumping up. I love this analogy. It makes it so clear. Just think of your platelets as little tiny bricks floating through your bloodstream. An antiplatelet drug is basically like a non-stick coating that stops those bricks from clumping together to build a really dangerous roadblock, a clot, in a super important artery. Okay, so now that we've got that down, let's tackle the first big piece of medical folklore, this whole idea of a daily baby aspirin. For decades, it's been treated almost like you treat a multivitamin for your heart. But is that right? We've all heard this, haven't we? Or something just like it. It sounds so simple, so safe. The idea that this one little pill can stop a massive heart attack. I mean, that's incredibly comforting. But the truth? Well, it's a lot more complicated. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the folklore. It's a daily vitamin. But on the right, you have the clinical reality. It's a precise medical tool. Now, for people who have already had a heart attack or stroke, the benefit is usually a no-brainer. But for healthy people, what doctors call primary prevention, the risk of a serious stomach bleed can actually be greater than the benefit to your heart. So the key thing to remember is this is not a supplement, it's a powerful drug with real risks.
Okay, next up, let's investigate aspirin's famous partner, clopidogrel, which you probably know by its brand name Plavix. The myth here is that it's just, a stronger, more hardcore version of aspirin. But as you can see here, that's totally wrong. They aren't different strengths of the same thing. They are completely different weapons. They work on totally separate pathways to stop those platelet bricks from sticking. Aspirin blocks one way, and clopidogrel blocks another. So think of it like having two different kinds of shields, each built to stop a very specific type of attack. And knowing they're different weapons is exactly why doctors sometimes use them together. It's called dual antiplatelet therapy, or DAPT for short. You see this a lot after someone gets a stent put in an artery. By using two different shields against two different attacks, you create this much stronger, almost unbreakable defense against a clot forming on that new hardware. And now we get to the real heart of this whole investigation, the big climax. There's a hidden piece of evidence here that changes absolutely everything we think we know about one of these drugs.
Here's the deal. Aspirin is incredibly reliable. It does its thing in pretty much everyone who takes it. But clopidogrel? Clopidogrel has a big secret, and its effectiveness is absolutely not guaranteed. Okay, so here's why. Clopidogrel is something called a prodrug. That means when you swallow the pill, it's actually completely inactive. It's useless. It has to take a trip to your liver, which is supposed to act like a light switch and flip the drug on, activating its protective power. And the key word there is supposed to. Because, and get this is the shocking twist. Up to 30% of us have a genetic variation that means our liver is missing the one specific enzyme, it's called CYP2C19, that's needed to flip that switch. Just let that sink in for a second. For up to nearly a third of the people who take this drug, clopidogrel provides absolutely zero protection. They're taking an inactive pill every single day, thinking they've got the shield up against a heart attack or stroke, when in reality, they've got nothing. And the scariest part? Most of them have no idea. So, where does all this leave us? What's the final verdict from our deep dive into the blood wars? Dr. Campanella's files really sum it up perfectly with this final pearl. Real understanding, real control. It's not just about popping a pill. It's about knowing precisely which shield, which drug, is right for your specific body and making sure it works without causing other problems, like a dangerous bleed. So let's just quickly recap the absolute must-know points from all this. First, remember, we're talking about antiplatelets, not blood thinners. Second, daily aspirin is a serious medical tool that has real risks. It is not a vitamin. Third, aspirin and clopidogrel are fundamentally different weapons, not just stronger or weaker versions of each other. And finally, the real game changer, a common genetic trait can make clopidogrel completely and totally useless for some people. And that really leaves us with one final and I think pretty powerful question. Now that you've seen the evidence, the myths, the reality, that hidden genetic twist, it's a question definitely worth thinking about and maybe even discussing with your doctor. Do you really know which shield you need to win your blood war?